8 angoli ed è Ronaldo pronto ad entrare?
After 5 long months on the sidelines, Ronaldo finally made his much-awaited return, coming off the bench against Lazio in the first leg of the Coppa Italia final. The roar of the Inter fans said it all. Their hero was back. Just 6 minutes in, Ronaldo tried to pull off his trademark stepovers, the same move that had left defenders helpless time and time again. But then, tragedy struck. Ronaldo collapsed to the ground, clutching his knees, screaming in agony. The seriousness of the injury was clear to everyone on the pitch. Minutes after his return, he was stretchered off, leaving the entire football world in shock. At just 24 years of age, the future of the Brazilian phenom was hanging by a thread. At his peak, Ronaldo possessed a rare blend of power, blistering pace and mesmerizing skills, a combination that made him one of a kind. It's no surprise that 2 different clubs broke the world transfer record for him in the span of just 1 year. But what made him unstoppable is also what made him fragile. Ronaldo wasn't just fast, he could change direction in the blink of an eye, leaving defenders chasing shadows. But those explosive movements put immense stress on his body, especially his knees and tendons, setting the stage for the injuries that would haunt his career. So when Ronaldo tore his patellar tendon earlier that season against Lecce, it was the injury that the medical team had been fearing all along. His personal physio Nilto Petroni would later explain, athletes with great power are more prone to muscle and tendon injuries. Slow individuals do not usually suffer these problems. Ronaldo's injuries weren't because his body was weak, but because of his explosive capacity. His greatest gift was also his greatest curse. But the injury against Lazio was far worse than anything the medical team had ever feared. His kneecap actually exploded and ended up in the middle of his thigh. Those were the chilling words of his physio Nilto Petroni. It was one of the most horrific injuries ever witnessed on a football pitch. The severity was beyond anything the medical team had feared, and the road to recovery seemed uncertain. After the surgery, Dr. Gerard Salant delivered a brutal reality check. Miracles do not exist. He needs at least 8 months to recover before playing again. I can't even say for sure if you'll ever play again. Many doubted if he'd ever be the same player again, while others wondered if he'd ever step on a football pitch at all. What was certain was that if Ronaldo ever wanted to set foot on a football pitch again, a long, painful journey of rehabilitation awaited him. What was first thought to be months on the sidelines turned into years. Ronaldo spent 2 long years away from the game fighting for his career. It was a draining period, physically and emotionally, watching precious years of his prime slip away, with no guarantees he'd ever play again. But through the darkest moments, he never gave up. He worked relentlessly behind closed doors, drawing strength from the birth of his son, which he described as the inspiration that gave him the fuel to keep going. Against all odds, Ronaldo made his return to football in November 2001, almost 2 years after that horrific injury. Many doubted if he could ever be the same again, but Ronaldo silenced the doubters almost instantly, scoring 3 goals in his first 5 games as he slowly began to find his feet again. It felt like the storm was finally over. But just when everything seemed to be back on track, disaster struck again. A hamstring injury ruled him out for nearly 3 months. Another cruel setback for a man who had already suffered so much. The guy just couldn't catch a break. But Ronaldo never stopped fighting. He returned in the final few weeks of the season, scoring 4 goals in the last 4 games. With the 2002 World Cup on the horizon, the Brazilian phenom was slowly rediscovering his magic. Brazil's performances in the qualifying rounds had been far from convincing, and heading into the 2002 World Cup they needed something special. They needed Ronaldo to inject his magic back into the team, and that's exactly what he did. He scored 4 goals and provided 1 assist in the group stage, directly responsible for half of Brazil's goals as they cruised into the knockout rounds. But his influence went far beyond the numbers. When Brazil needed him most, he delivered. A crucial goal against Belgium in the round of 16, the match winner against Turkey in the semi-finals. Step by step, Ronaldo was carrying Brazil all the way to their 3rd consecutive World Cup final, proving to the world that even after everything he had been through, El Fenomeno was still standing. Ronaldo was already a World Cup winner, having been part of Brazil's 1994 squad, despite not playing a single minute in the tournament. Now he had the chance to write his name into Brazilian history, to lead his country to their record-breaking 5th World Cup title. The weight of the moment was immense, but this was a man who had already overcome so much. In the 67th minute of the World Cup final against Germany, Ronaldo seized on a rare mistake by Oliver Kahn, pouncing to give Brazil the lead. Glory was so close they could almost taste it. But Ronaldo wasn't done yet. Just 10 minutes later he struck again, putting the game beyond Germany's reach. After everything he'd been through, the injuries, the doubts, the pain of not knowing if he'd ever play again, he was now just moments away from gifting his country the ultimate prize. The final whistle blew, and thanks to Ronaldo's brace, Brazil lifted the World Cup trophy once again. Ronaldo had not only written his name into Brazilian football history, but into football history itself. He became the first and only player at the time to score 8 goals in a single World Cup, a record that stood for years. That record would eventually be matched by Kylian Mbappe in 2022. But in that moment, Ronaldo was king. Despite the horrific injury that had once threatened to end his career, Ronaldo was now on top of the world, full of joy and pride. He had completed the greatest injury comeback football had ever seen. His incredible performance did not go unnoticed. The football world recognized his brilliance as he was crowned world best player and handed his 2nd Ballon d'Or. That summer, Ronaldo would join the Spanish giants Real Madrid, where he would go on to rediscover his prolific form, even if he had lost the explosive pace that had once made him a nightmare for defenders. His story is one of resilience and inspiration, a reminder that no matter how impossible things may seem, never give up.